Good morning, everybody. Wanted to take a minute today because I happened to come across the new Instagram Trends report that was released not too long ago, last week. I thought there was some really interesting information that, in my opinion, everybody should know about. So I thought it might be important to kind of just review some of the things that Instagram is talking about. They're mainly focused on talking about Gen Z, which to them, in the report, they categorize Gen Z as folks who are 16 to 24. So if you're in a market that targets the younger generation, or even if you want to know what likely the older generations will start taking advantage of once their kids do, I found this report fairly interesting. And I thought I'd just go over it with you and point out some of the bullet points that to me caught my eye, and that seemed like they were something that were worth noting, and that were certainly something that was worth paying attention to. And like I said, it's just their annual trend report that they show. I'm going to bring it up on my screen now. And this is available for anyone to download as a PDF if you want to dive deeper into, it. There isn't a ton of, jam-packed information, but there's some good nuggets that I think, like I said, are worth being aware of, especially if you serve a product or if you're somebody who is serving the younger generation. Then you probably at least should know something about what it is that they're interested in, what they're looking for in their products and services, and what they're hoping to do more of in 2023. The report begins by sharing that. That they went out to do this report, and it all began with them asking people to sum up 2023 in one word. And of the respondents, the two most common words were healing and energized, or energy. And so, I think that's kind of interesting. I think that might share a little bit with us about the mindset of of Gen Z, and of what they're hoping to have more of in 2023. If they surveyed all these young people and they all came back like that and said, hey, we're looking for more healing and more energy in 2023, I think that really reveals, what we've all been dealing with in 2022, in 2021, and 2020, or whenever the Patricia started. I think they're probably pretty exhausted from all that stuff. And so healing and energy certainly make a lot of sense. Now, how do we interpret that as marketers, or at least as social media marketers, or as somebody who's looking to hire influencers who might help influence the shopping decisions of Gen Z? I think it's important to keep these two words in mind: healing and energy. How does that play a role, or how do your products or services play a role in providing those things that might interest the younger generation? We know, at least according to the survey, these are two things that they're really concerned about, two things they've been dealing with. My assumption by reading that would be, if that's how you sum up what you want out of 2023, my assumption is that you probably didn't have much of that in 2022. And so, definitely some interesting things to think about right there, as far as choosing new products, or what to write about even in 2023. There could be some nuggets to glean from that. But I'm going to move right into the report here. And so starts off talking about the fashion industry and what Gen Z is looking for. I thought it was really interesting that the report found that a lot of young people plan to, quote, take fashion into their own hands, talking about sustainability and doing DIY clothing and making their own clothes. And I can't help but think back to, like, when I was in high school and thought that I was like the man when I made my first pair of bell bottoms by sewing in. They were the underclothes. What are those things called? You wear them in the winter. It's like an extra pair of clothing under your clothes. Anyhow, when I thought I would cut a section of the warm fabric off and sew them into my jeans and call them bell bottoms, that was my version of DIY fashion back in high school. But it's interesting that the DIY generation is interested. That the Gen Z generation is interested in doing more DIY things. How do we interpret that as marketers, or how do you interpret that for your business is up to you. But I think what we could all agree on is that this isn't all that shocking, because when you think about the types of content that's going viral, it's almost a large percentage of it is, or at least appears to be, DIY-ish videos, right? And by DIY-ish, I mean, people cooking and showing people how to cook, like my favorite influencer, Ralph the Baker, showing people how to cook his delicious Cajun dinners, or you're watching people create cool crafts, or I think about all the different like craft and Christmas craft decoration videos I watched on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram this year. And they were all about DIY, like, hey, I can do this, or I can learn that. You think about how many times we've said, hey, I've learned how to do this. I think we're empowering the next generation to feel like maybe there's things I can do on my own. And so when they look at fashion, at least for next year, a lot of them are saying, I want to try making my own stuff. They're also, noticing that their parents are talking more about money and perhaps their fears of money or running out of money, or that this coming year with everything going on, they're going to need to be more frugal. And so according to this report, a lot of these Gen Zers are asking that they're going to be very price conscious this year, and that they're not immune to, things being outside of their budget. So worth keeping in mind if you're selling a product or service to young people in the coming year, knowing that they're interested in this DIY-ish product, but also interested in not blowing the bank. I think it's kind of runs against the face of the hype beast theory of my Supreme socks that cost $2,000 per sock. And so, but moving on, the report goes on to talk about the Gen Z consumer being an activist generation, and that they plan to support businesses that support social causes that they believe in. And so I think it's interesting because I've always been advised, like, oh, you don't mix religion, faith, or personal beliefs into your business. I've always kind of, done the opposite of that with my business, because for me, taking a stance is important. But I understand why a lot of businesses cannot. But I think if you are offering a product or service that has an organic connection to a cause, or a people group or a social need, then I don't think you need to be terrified of sharing that or promoting that or talking about it, and understanding that the next generation is kind of looking for that, right? They're looking for some leadership, and they feel better buying from companies that are supporting something bigger than just the white dude at the top's wallet. The survey also says that a lot of Gen Z voters think the country needs more Gen Z politicians, and so, Maxwell Frost came out. He was the first Gen Z politician elected to the U.S. Congress this year. And so Gen Z is saying, hey guys, we want to play our role, right? Hey ladies, we want to take our role in this. And so, pretty interesting. I think that's also interesting when you think about your marketing and when you think about the products and services you're selling, knowing that the people that you're talking to are people who want to feel empowered and don't want to sit back on the sidelines always and just spend money to spend money. They want to feel good about how they've spent their money. So, and then disability advocacy. And so, kind of taking that out of the shadows and saying, hey, we want to be buying from companies that we know are doing good. I don't think this is a shock for anybody, because I think it's slowly been happening more and more and more. I think about the bracelets I'm wearing, or I think about a lot of things that I've bought that make me feel good knowing that a percentage of it goes to support something else. Disability advocacy is certainly a huge gap in the market, and Gen Z is aware of that, and young people are saying, hey, we want to support the businesses that support the things that are close to our hearts too. Goes on to talk about climate and expressive beauty. This one I thought was really interesting. I have some clients who are in the skincare space, and so I was specifically interested in what the next generation is saying about their purchasing habits for skincare products. So I thought it was interesting, that they're viewing their beauty products as a form of self-expression, which to me is not a shock. After all, I do have some beautiful hair, which I don't know what that expresses other than my incredible likeness to your favorite plus-size male model. But the other aspect of this that I thought was interesting was the Gen Z shopper plans to buy protective skincare and beauty products. 2 out of 3 Gen Z shoppers plan to buy skincare or beauty products that protect against extreme weather and sun. Issues like rising air pollution, intense UV rays are driving searches for climate-proof products. So there's a few ways you could interpret this as a marketer. So there's number one, which is like, hey, cool. Well, we got to make sure we're mentioning this on our packaging, or or whatever, if your target market is the younger generation. But I also think of things like blogging and your content creation, and if you're an influencer in the skincare space, and if your audience is in that younger sector, I think it's worth keeping in mind that these kids are growing up with heroes like Greta Thunberg, speaking to climate change and speaking about it, and when they're making their skincare decisions, they're also aware of things like these, intense UV rays, and they're looking for, things to guard them from the sun, and as weather fluctuations and climate change and all this. And so I think it's worth being aware that they're not just buying what their mom bought. They're not waiting for the Avon lady to knock on the door and sell them some Skin So Soft. Though I will say, Skin So Soft is where it's at. And if I had some Skin So Soft on my desk right now, I'd be rocking that. Then here we go. We jump right into the metaverse, which I'm a proponent of, even though personally I thought Facebook's metaverse blows. But I think it's gonna get better. I have the Oculus someplace in my office. Oh, it's over my shoulder. I guess you can't see it. It's over there. Or maybe you can see it. I don't know. And so, but anyhow, they're looking at the Web3 world, and Gen Z plans to continue expanding that. And they're saying that when they look at the metaverse and when they're looking at virtual reality, they want it to more better reflect an accurate version of what's in the real world. So in other words, the generally accepted over-sexualization of the female body with any type of game or artwork or sales program, Gen Z is saying, hey guys, we want things to actually reflect who the buyer is. 67% of Gen Z users feel avatars should better reflect diverse body types, clothing, and skin tones in the coming year. They also are saying that that over half of Gen Z social media users plan to get fashion or beauty inspiration from digital avatars or influencers in 2023. Again, kind of interesting. For me, that's kind of foreign because I'm not a big, avatar dude. I'm not a big guy running around, with my avatars and all that. But I certainly know that my nieces and nephews do. And so I think it's really interesting that they're looking at this metaverse and saying, hey, wow, I'm going to be inspired by the fashion of this person from Fortnite or whatever game it is that's popular now. I don't know. The last popular game that I played that blew my mind was Tetris on my Game Boy. Or was it that one where I delivered newspapers? Either way, I'm about 40 years behind the trends when it comes to gaming. But I don't, as much crap as we give the metaverse because of how much, it's just lagged and becoming interesting. Gen Z doesn't seem to be hung up on that as much. And I think as we continue to see that grow, it's weird to realize and kind of difficult to accept for people my age and older. But they're going to draw their inspiration from the places that they spend the most amount of time, which in this case, for many of them, is going to be virtual reality or at least augmented reality. Much like when I was a kid, what influenced my fashion choices was like MTV and the original like Road Rules. So this next part here is speaking to the financial renaissance. What I thought was kind of cool and I'm kind of happy about was, in this area, it talks about, what Gen Z plans to do with their money and how they plan to make money. And the fact that 64% of Gen Z social media users plan to monetize a project this year. Wrap your brain around that. 64% of Gen Z plans to monetize a project this year. 85% say they want to learn how to be better with money. And, it's really interesting to me that, this really, is a easy to understand marriage between their words that they chose when they were surveyed about what word would you use to sum up 2023, your goals for 2023. And we heard them saying things like energy and healing, and you think about finances and the effects that your finances or that your parents' finances have on your energy and your healing, then I think it's easy to understand why so many young people now are growing up saying, I want to be better with my money than my parents were. The other thing I think you can thank for that is guys like Gary Vee, who preach to these young people about not being dumb with their money. So I think it's cool that they have this interest in getting better with money and monetizing and side hustles. A large percentage of them expect their interests to turn into side hustles, meaning they expect what they're interested in, their hobbies, to turn into some form of monetization. So for people who are creators or course creators, I think this shares an obvious reality of the market and how much that market's going to grow for online courses and training and mentorship. I think it also shares a stark or scary reality for the future of scams and get rich quick schemes and pyramid schemes taking advantage of young people who are hoping to turn their side hustle into a monetization deal. Because it kind of leaves the world open for that. So for the creator, though, what does this mean? To me, what this means is if you're a creator and you're in the financial space, boy, there might be a lot of young people looking for your content in the coming year. And if you're a business looking to attract young people to your business, or a bank, or a financial institution, and you're trying to get young customers for life, this tells you something. Well, David, what does it tell you? It tells me that don't just assume someone who's 18 isn't bright enough to care about their finances, or assume that someone who's 21 is only interested in getting hammered at college or something. This could affect blog topics, video content, influencers that you work with. When you grasp that young people care about their money and they want to be better with their money, and not only that, they want to figure out how to make more of that money, and they want to figure out how to monetize things. This is a really exciting topic area, especially if you are a financial influencer or somebody interested in that banking space, because we know that there's a lot of young people who are going to be looking to move into that space and understand it better. In fact, 85% of Gen Z plan to learn a new skill in 2023, and 1 out of 4 teen social media users want to increase their skills in finance. So, can any of you out there say gamification? All right, can you think of a way that you could connect with that younger consumer in a way that educates them, but they can also have fun with and feel proud that they're learning something new? Because I think that's where things are going to be headed. This next section, going into food and beverage, which I thought is interesting, mainly because, as many of you know, I'm the talent manager for Ralph the Baker, a TikTok star, viral sensation on YouTube and Instagram Reels. And I'm always interested to find out what's going on in the world of global eats. And so 68% of Gen Z social media consumers will either continue or would like to try food from another culture after discovering it online. Again, I think this is a really cool opportunity for influencers who are food and beverage influencers or cooks or chefs that may have a great culture. I think of Ralph the Baker, my client, with my talent agency. Ralph is, a great ambassador for Louisiana food culture. And, I think the future is going to look bright for the types of content that he creates, exposing people to that Cajun culture and that delicious, spicy food. But also for anybody else, this is essentially telling us that Gen Z and the upcoming generation is really down with you talking about, your mom's recipe or those cultural recipes that you have that they may not have seen before. And there's that opportunity to connect these people in real life. So if you're a restaurant with a real great cultural spin, I think it's probably time to be creating some more additional video content about those items. And then moving on away from food and shopping, the report goes on to talk about Gen Z looking to take online relationships offline, right? And this is something that a lot of people have given a lot of young people crap for. Well, oh my God, you're sitting in your grandmother's basement, you don't even know each other. Well, guess what? A third of those people surveyed said, we want online meetups, but we want to take these people we've met online. We want to take these people on that we met online, and we want to bring that offline and have like an in-person meetup. That's kind of neat. Now, if you're an influencer, which is a particular area of interest for me, what does this mean? Well, This could mean an additional area of monetization for you, where if you built up a large online community and now you know that a third of those people are interested in meeting you in real life at a meetup, or meeting other members of that community who share the interest in your content, they'd like to see them in real life. Well, this is a great opportunity for live events. It's a great opportunity for influencers to connect with people, especially if your audience is in that younger generation. It's a great opportunity for brands that appeal to young people to think about pop-up events that young people can attend and meet and network. If we know a third of them are looking to connect in real life, then why not start thinking about what type of live event can we pull off to serve that Gen Z, that younger generation? Because we know a lot of them, don't want to just be stuck in their, mama's basement or in their bedroom on their phone or laptop. They want to do something in person. And it falls again in line, I feel like, with those two words at the beginning of the report said that people are interested in, which was healing and energizing. What's more healing and energizing than meeting up in real life, right? Meeting up in real life and getting to hang out together. Hey, Ralph. And so, I think it's a great, it's a great thing to be aware of if you're a content creator, or if you're a restaurant or a food and beverage place, or anything like that. We know now a third of all young people want to come and attend an event in real life, right? They've been locked up for 3 years. We've all been dealing with the same panty. We've all had that friend Patricia, and we all want to get out in real life and say hello. And then finally, in 2023, mixed media will rule content creation. The next generation expects their favorite influencers to branch into new forms of media. 40% of Gen Z want to hear podcasts from their favorite influencers. So what's cool about that, in my opinion, is that if you're an influencer who's already used to creating a lot of content, and if you're already used to creating a lot of content, and you've already built up a large consumer base for that content on YouTube, Facebook Reels, Facebook Shorts, and that type of thing, well, now we know, hey, these people want more ways to connect with you. They want more content. So in some cases, this means that you may have episodes of content that you've already created that you can just rip the audio from and release as podcast episodes. You may have had DIY videos that the audio is good, that you maybe with just a little bit of editing, you can release as a backlog podcast. So you could kind of, batch release several of these, but also just being aware that 40% of these people want to connect with you in additional ways on top of just your TikTok videos or on top of just your reels. They want connection. And to me, what this report really tells me is that young people and that Generation Z, Gen Z demographic aren't so much looking for just an online experience. They want real life experiences because they've been living their life online, kind of like forced to live online while the pandemic was raging around. And now they want actual real life connections. And speaking of real life connections, another area to which I just certainly don't have any connection to would be the return of the rave. Can anybody give me a fist pump? And so, but 68% of Gen Z social media users plan to attend a rave or want to attend a rave in 2023. I'm not a rave producer. I don't have any candies in my mouth or ecstasy in my back pocket, but I think again this just speaks to the need for giving younger consumers opportunities to connect in real life, right? This is to give younger people an opportunity to connect in real life and see each other. Because if we go back to the beginning of this report, what did this report tell us? This report told us that when they surveyed these young people to sum up 2023, what did they want? They wanted healing and they wanted to be energized. And so when I look at all these answers to these survey questions of these 1,200 young people from Generation Z and what they plan to do more of in 2023, I think there's a reason why you don't see like a whole lot of answers like, boy, I plan to really master, my gaming skills in 2023, or I really plan to, sit in my bedroom more and watch more TV. a lot of these answers that we just went over from these trends have everything to do with real life connections. So I think as marketers and as influencers, I think being aware of these concepts and being aware that that's what the next generation is looking for can help us shape content in the future. Because we don't have to guess so much. We know what they're looking for. And so just kind of recap this a little bit. The areas where I see opportunity, that's right, they are ready to party. Yes, they are. They're ready to party in real life too, not just online anymore. And so, um, the areas where I see real opportunity for businesses and influencers is I found it really interesting that so many young people expressed an interest in learning about other cultures and cultural food traditions online, and then experiencing them offline. And so I think there's an opportunity there again for restaurants, for chefs, for cooks, for guys like Ralph the Baker, to not only show your creations, but then say, hey, we're going to do a meetup, on this date. And, we're going to try to take some of these relationships that are online, we're going to turn them offline. And then to think about restaurants, the ways, for a lot of restaurants that create beautiful food but don't create any content because there's no way to prove my ROI on my TikTok content or whatever their reasoning is, or I don't have time. Perhaps the reason you might want to start taking video content production seriously is because now the next generation is hoping to watch your food process online before walking into your restaurant. So maybe that's the inspiration you need to whip out that camera while you're chopping up your carrots and making your Hungarian goulash. And then again, in 2023, as we read, a lot of young people are looking to save money this year. They're looking to get better with their finances. They're looking to feel like they've learned a new skill in 2023, and they're looking to have some control of their own expression, either be through DIY fashion or supporting skincare brands that support climate change or help fight climate change. These are all things that I think are important to know. And so if you're a financial influencer out there, man, you're going to be in the hot seat. I think the opportunity to protect young people from getting screwed by the amount of pyramid schemes that they'll probably get hit with, trying to teach them how to get rich quick, is going to be very, very high. And so the opportunity for financial influencers to build a massive community in the coming year, I think is going to be there, knowing that so many young people want to be better with their money. And if you're a parent of a young person, I think it's going to be very important to be involved with your kids a little bit, to know what they're spending their money on, and also what creators they're supporting and what background that creator actually has. If they're claiming to be some financial real estate guru, let's just make sure that we verify, trust but verify, so your kids don't end up getting taken advantage of by somebody who's just going to keep selling them another course for $149.99 a month. So anyhow, this is the report. You can find it on Instagram right through the Instagram creators profile page. There's a link there where you can download it, or you can message me. I'm happy to send you my copy. Just a few things to keep in mind. If you serve that Gen Z generation, they're looking for energy, healing, in-person connections, and to learn new skills. So with that, I'm going to tune out, and you hit me up if you have any questions.